After many months of waiting, discussion, speculation, and absolute craziness, here it is, Election Day 2024, the first one that we will be covering on Shields and Arrows, but I do not plan on it being the last. Thank you all for being here. Breaking out the red shirt today with the blue, feeling patriotic, feeling like a winner, all right? Now, I'm not saying that we're going to come away at the end of the night knowing who won or even necessarily the winning side when it comes to the White House, but I am telling you this. I have some hope. I have some encouragement. This could potentially get really bad if Kamala Harris does get in the White House because they could absolutely rig everything by making all of the illegal immigrants that are here registered voters and permanently sealing up their lead. But what I have seen is, you know what? I think the conservatives have a little bit of fight in them. They've got a little bit of spine, a little bit of backbone, and I think it has a lot to do with that guy with the big personality in Pennsylvania who, when took a bullet to the ear, stood up and shouted, "Fight, fight, fight." He is not the perfect man. He's not everything you want a president to be. He's not the perfect example of morality and virtue, but I will tell you this, sometimes you just got to get what you got to get. And Donald Trump has done some things that I think is worth acknowledging, and he's worth voting for. So I hope that when you go to the voting booth today, you cast your ballot for Donald J. Trump. And when you're at the voting booth, I hope you've done your homework to make sure that when you vote in the local elections, which are extremely important, we've got to have small government folks, that you will make good decisions as well. Thank you all for joining us today for our very special edition of Shields and Arrows. Glad to have all of you with us. All right. Now, let's talk about a few things, okay? What else is there to say about the election? It's going on right now. I don't know who's going to win. You don't know who's going to win. My confidence in election integrity is not high by any means. But here's what I want to tell you, okay? Here's what I'm going to say. And it's going to come from a direction that you're probably not fully prepared. I want to talk about a story that maybe you have forgotten or overlooked. And it's so very telling, all right? I want to remind you about a man who is on trial right now in New York. And that man's name is Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny. He is a retired Marine. He might have actually been still in the Marines at the time. But there was a man on the subways in New York whose name was Jordan Neely. And Jordan Neely was clearly on something. He was threatening people, making people feel very uncomfortable. And Daniel Penny took it upon himself to subdue Jordan Neely, to make sure that there was no threat. I think that he did what any normal man would do in that situation. Certainly if my wife and my children were on that subway, of course my wife and children would never be on a subway because we don't go to such a place of vile scum and villainy as New York. But hypothetically, if that was the case, I do not blame him. Now what happened is, ultimately Jordan Neely, due to this headlock, this chokehold, and it wasn't really a chokehold in the sense of his airway. It was to shut off the blood flow to his head to make him pass out to where he's no longer a threat. The story was Jordan Neely killed him. All right, that's what you were told, that in the process of subduing him, that Daniel Penny killed Jordan Neely. Now, it's also highly motivated because Jordan Neely's a black man and Daniel Penny's white. Obviously, you can see that is Daniel Penny. He is very bad and racist because he doesn't have enough melanin in his skin. And Jordan Neely is clearly the hero in the story because he does have enough melanin in his skin. And so what we were told is that's the story. It's everybody was up in arms. This is racism, the next George Floyd, you name it. And Daniel Penny was arrested and is facing trial right now. Here is an amazing thing coming from the New York Post. Shocking footage from the officers shows that Daniel Penny did not actually kill Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely had a pulse when they arrived. And Jordan Neely was quite disgusting. He was dirty when he was a homeless man living on the street. And you can absolutely contract diseases from somebody if you try to do mouth-to-mouth or if they were to spit up on you, you name it. So the officers did get a pulse. He was not dead at the time. And it was only afterward that Jordan Neely perspired. So with all that being said, does that mean that the actions of Daniel Penny did not incidentally lead to the death of Jordan Neely? No, that is possible. Involuntary manslaughter could absolutely be a thing. But he was doing so to protect the people on the subway after Jordan Neely had openly threatened to kill people on that subway. The media that painted Daniel Penny out to be a terrible, vicious, racist murderer and said that he was absolutely killed by the actions of and Jordan Neely was absolutely killed by the actions of Daniel Penny, is the same media that has been telling you nonstop that Donald Trump is Hitler, that Kamala Harris is this fresh new face. She doesn't want to have open borders. She doesn't want to confiscate your guns, and she doesn't want to kill children at the point of birth. Yesterday, we talked about the fact that this is a big throne of lies. The entire platform of the left has been nothing but lie after lie after lie. And the worst lie that they can accuse Republicans of is when Donald Trump on what was it, CBS, whatever, when he did the debate with Kamala Harris, he said, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets. And that is the biggest lie that they can stick Donald Trump with. And if you point that out, they will just scream, no, he's a fascist, louder and louder. And they'll say something about World War III, ignoring the fact that when Donald Trump was president, Vladimir Putin did not invade Ukraine, and there was not a big attack on Israel by Hamas, and Iran was broke, and there was peace in the Middle East. Pay no attention, okay? All you need to know is Trump is a bad, mean orange man who is bad, mean, and orange. And so with that, this entire story of Daniel Penny encapsulates everything that we've been seeing in this entire election cycle. Here we are arriving at November 5th, and what is the story today? If Donald Trump wins, it's the end of democracy. Never mind the fact that Kamala Harris was not in the primary. There was a coup in the White House. She is now the one that is the candidate, and you do not need to ask questions. Just sign for the first female president of color, and then everything will be fine, right? So here we are. That's where we're facing. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I really don't. I think that anybody tells you that they do know for certain is mistaken. I'm going to tell you this. One thing I do feel confident about is that we're not going to know what in the world happens in states like Arizona and Nevada tonight. And it could matter. The votes in Arizona could be extremely, extremely important. Don't expect to know. Which isn't great for us who want to sleep tonight because we're going to be staying up, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. But they know most people are going to check out around 3 o'clock. That is when the pipes will burst and the ballots will start flowing in. Now, while it does seem doom and gloom and it seems like they're just going to rig it again, it's absolutely possible. It's not hopeless. I'll remind you, in 2020, Donald Trump ran a very competitive race, and he was not looked upon nearly as likable by many, many people. Think about how many people have come out in support of Trump. Now, I don't care for the opinions of celebrities for the most part. Most of them don't really have a clue, and they get paid to just be actors all the time. And so you should not put any value in their opinions and their deep political insight. But think about everybody who has gotten behind Donald Trump. You have a Kennedy who is supporting the Republican candidate. You have Tulsi Gabbard who is supporting him. You've had a number of people who used to be affiliated with the left. Elon Musk was very much in favor of more left-wing politics until very recently. And now his major supporters consist of those people. It is undeniable that the independents and the libertarian groups are rallying behind Trump. Now, that is concerning. Are we losing our conservative background? I don't think it's entirely the case. I think we've got to be careful. We can just turn into more moderate liberals, which is what Republicans have been doing in recent years. But think about all the people that are absolutely against Donald Trump, and honestly, it should give you some comfort. The fact that the Liz Cheneys of the world are vehemently against Donald Trump tells you that you're doing something right. If Liz Cheney is agreeing with you, you should probably recheck your values because you have somewhere greatly strayed. I would feel the same way if somebody like David Platt agreed with me. And we'll talk about David Platt here in a moment because I think it's also relevant because somehow matters of theology and church and evangelicalism, it's all mirroring each other. It's strange. I don't know why, but I keep seeing connections again and again. So we'll talk about David Platt before it's all said and done today. But there is reason to think maybe, just maybe, all hope is not lost. Maybe this is all going to work out. Now, the good news is it looks like the Republicans are going to be able to win the Senate. Now, you and I know that Republicans can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory all the time. And even if they win the Senate, that doesn't mean they're not going to do some very knuckle-headed, ridiculous things that help the left. They absolutely could. Never underestimate Mitch McConnell to let you down. And so with all that being said, there are some reasons to have a little bit of hope. At least maybe there will be a slight check on Kamala Harris if she wins, because the Republicans will hold the Senate. They may even be able to keep the House. That's not a given. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with the House. And so Trump could come away the victor, and it'll be the craziest American story ever. And if they want somebody to play Trump in the future, I will quite frankly be happy to throw my name into the ballot, into the ring. But it'll be an amazing story. Either way, we're in for craziness. Washington, D.C. is already boarding up all the stores because they are anticipating that if Trump does happen to win, then there might be some, Antifa come out and burn down the city. I promise you, I feel very confident in this. I could be wrong, but I feel very confident in this. I promise you that I'm confident. If Trump was to win, the Republicans are not going to go out and riot for fun. If Kamala Harris wins, the left could absolutely go out and riot for fun. If Trump wins, they will absolutely go out and riot. Now, if Kamala Harris wins, I do not think that Republicans, conservatives are going to go out and burn down the city. And there's a reason for that, okay? There's a fundamental principle and worldview that most conservatives have that prevent them from going out and destroying cities and burning cop cars and, rioting in the streets and things like that. And we're going to explain why that is the case and what you need to do tonight, okay? Yes, you can be watching the news. I thought about doing a live stream. We may do a special one later on tonight if I'm feeling up for it. We may, once we're kind of getting a picture for how things are looking, maybe a later broadcast around, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time might be what we do. I'm not entirely sure yet. Haven't made up my mind. But what you need to do, keep an eye on things and see how all the elections are going. Especially pay attention to your local elections. But I'm going to talk about our game plan, how we are going to approach tonight, and maybe how we can get some sleep. The major difference between the conservatives and the liberals is we have something to fall back on. The liberal ideology is very much a secular ideology. They believe that this is the most important thing that's ever happened, right? This election is going to determine the future of humanity, and it is doom, gloom if they don't win. But the people of faith, right? Diligent Bible students, those of you that understand the Word of God, that have a broader view of all this and realize that in the grand scheme of things, the 2024 election is not going to be the end-all, be-all. The United States will maybe persist after this, maybe it won't, but the world will continue on. Empires rise, empires fall. Tragedy comes, victories come. It's just a part of the course of the world. And one of these days, we do know that Christ will return, will be raptured, and there will be tribulation and all the prophetic program being completed, sealed up, Daniel's 70th week. We understand eschatology, and so we're not hitting the panic button. We understand that ultimately these things are all going to work out. God's will is going to be done. We have some blessed assurance in that. So churchgoers, Bible students, well, churchgoers that are biblically based. There's a lot of people that go to things called a church, and it's absolute nothing but social justice warrior sludge that's being pumped out every Sunday from the pulpit. We're not going to go into a frenzy. We're not going to be burning down cities. It's going to be the secular atheist, because for them, this is the biggest thing that happens in their life. There's nothing beyond this world. The here and now is everything that matters. And they even believe that. They may believe in some concept or idea of a God, but for them, this is the most important thing. They do not see beyond the world that's in front of them, because after all, they've got to make this world after their own image. So they deny reality of men and women and what is life and a baby, and they have to make this world everything that it's supposed to be. You and I understand that the world is going to struggle with sin and depravity, and it's just the way it is, and towards the end, wickedness is going to abound all the more. It doesn't shock us. We understand how things are going to work. But for the secular atheists and those that are of the left, this is the only world they've got. There is no future that they're really looking forward to. They have to make utopia now, and that is a big weight to be on their shoulders. You and I, we know. The standard evangelicals don't, bless their hearts. They're just confused as they can be. But we can't build utopia. We can't build the kingdom. We're not going to be able to establish everlasting righteousness and end transgression here on earth. We can't do it. Sorry, postmillennialist. It's just the way it is. You got to read your Bible better. Stop listening to Augustine so much. Now, all of that to be said, the secularists don't have it. So, this is DEFCON 1, code red, end of the world if Trump wins. Because now they cannot fashion the world after their vision, after their likeness, after their image. And if they can't do that, then they take that as a massive, massive hit to their eschatology, right? There's a certain way that progressivism is supposed to go. They're supposed to be marching ever towards progress, and progress is pumping kids full of hormone blockers and aborting all the babies. And, I don't know, free housing for all, right? These different principles and ideas that they have. So, if they don't get it, well, all of a sudden, their worldview, their religion is under attack. It's under threat, and they can't have that. So what will they do? They must rise up. And after all, they've been hearing nonstop from all of the rhetoric and the words that have been spoken by politicians on the left and the media that supports the left. All they've been told is that Trump is Hitler, Trump is Hitler, Trump is Hitler, Trump is Hitler. Trump is bad, being orange, authoritarian. He's going to put us in concentration camps. He's going to be a dictator. He's going to abolish the Constitution. He's going to start World War III. And Trump is truly Satan, even though many of them on the left worship Satan. It's a weird situation for them. They're very confused on all that. That's evident because they don't quite know what a woman is. So, it is perfectly understandable under their worldview, and I would expect them to. Listen, if Trump is Hitler and he wins the election, it makes sense to riot in the street and burn the cities down, do something, right? Because after all, it's Hitler. Here's the thing. I think Kamala Harris is a terrible politician. I think she has some wicked, terrible ideas about children and family and all of those things. I think she would be disastrous for our country. I don't think she's Hitler. I think that she is a liberal, secularist woman who is going to do a lot of damage, but she's not going to be rounding us up in concentration camps, I don't think. The truth is, I think that she is not the embodiment of evil. I think that she is somebody who holds to left-wing ideology, and left-wing ideology is really, really bad, okay? But not the embodiment of evil. And I think that's how you feel as well. I'm not excited about the prospects of her being the president, but I think life is going to go on in some form. But for the left, they don't have it. It is perfectly understandable that if they get violent this election, and I know, so one of the things that's so frustrating, that made me very frustrated about January 6th, is because the right never rioted. Okay? Never rioted. until January 6th. And with that being said, their rioting was very toned down compared to the left's. Absolutely. And it wasn't burning down people's private businesses and attacking people on the streets. It was, going into the Capitol, in which case the police there let them in most circumstances. And when they did that, that took away the left's, it took away the right's moral high ground, I guess, to a degree. Because before it was just the left that rioted, and the left couldn't say, oh no, we're afraid that those conservatives are going to riot if they don't get their way. I don't think a riot's going to ensue this time. I hope that if something turns out that Trump doesn't win, if we don't have any clear evidence of voter fraud, and that's very frustrating for us because we don't have a lot of confidence in our elections, I don't want there to be a big push to riot in the streets and do these things at the Capitol and whatnot. I don't think that's beneficial for us. But the left wants to pretend like it's a major threat. I'm not that concerned about it. But the left, on the other hand, I will remind you, when Trump won in 2016, there was rioting, there was unrest, and they rioted a number of times. This brings us to an important point that you need to understand, okay? We have seen a very much toned down left during the presidency of Biden, okay? We've seen it toned down quite a bit. They haven't been going out in the streets and rioting. About the worst we've seen is maybe some of the Palestinian protesters. When Trump gets in office, if he wins, the riots will return, okay? There will be another George Floyd. All right, there just will. It's amazing how when Biden's president, all of a sudden police aren't racist anymore. But the second that Trump becomes president, the police will be racist again. All right, we'll have another example of a black man, probably a criminal like George Floyd was, and yes, he was, die at the hands of police officers. And maybe it was due to all the drugs in his system, like George Floyd. Or maybe it'll be some other reason he was resisting arrest, something. The riots will ensue, Antifa will march, and Kamala Harris will probably be bailing out rioters once again, if they allow her to be in the public eye. I do hope that Trump wins so we do not have to listen to the cackling anymore. Oh, that's the thought of her cackling for 4 straight years is going to be just absolutely terrible for everyone. I'm probably just going to have a surgery to remove my ear canals. So can you remove ear canals? Maybe my eardrums, though. That should work, right? I hope. We need to look into this. Somebody do some research for me right now. With all that being said, Trump winning is not going to mark the end of hard times in our country. We need to understand that. If Trump wins, it's going to mark the beginning of some very difficult times because the left will be in full force. They will try to do everything they can to get in his way. I guarantee you there's going to be bad actors in these government agencies, whether it's the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, you name it. They are going to go after Trump, okay? Why would they stop? They have tried to prosecute him. They have prosecuted him. They've made him a felon for some unknown reason, 34 times over. They have tried to take his life. They're not stopping, okay? The only way to get them to stop this horrible weaponizing of the DOJ and attack on Trump and other conservatives is the left has to lose, okay? They have to lose. They've got to be disenfranchised. They have to be discouraged from doing this kind of stuff, okay? They have to lose this election and a bunch of elections after that to show them that we are not going to tolerate their behavior. That is not acceptable. When a child acts out of line, when you tell a child no and they throw a hissy fit, you do not give in. That's the worst thing you can do. If your child is throwing a hissy fit, you cannot give in. You have to stand your ground. The left has been throwing a hissy fit. They cannot get their way. They threw a hissy fit in 2020 and America gave in. All right. It's the picture of a parent who tells the child, no, you can't have the candy. And the child gets on the floor, kicks and screams and whines and cries. and America rolls over and gives it to them. Or at least that's what the election said. Somebody gave it to them, whether it's the American people or somebody in the Dominion voting machines, whatever the case may be, they gave in to the kicking, screaming child. And look what it did for us. The child is going to kick and scream until the child learns it can't have its way, every single time. Trump not only needs to win for the sake of good policy, but he needs to win to teach people that you cannot act like a child, whining, kicking, screaming, begging to change the rules, and get your way. All right? If Kamala Harris wins, it's going to only encourage them. Let's say that Trump loses and J.D. Vance runs in 2028. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I mean, if he loses this time around, I don't see the point in nominating the vice president of the guy who lost. But whoever runs, J.D. Vance, Ron DeSantis, they are going to try the same stuff. They will look for ways to prosecute him, okay? Whoever the candidate is, because they will have already been incentivized. They were incentivized to go after Trump because they won in 2020. They will be incentivized to continue to go after conservatives in 2024. Do not think that I'm fully convinced that Trump's legal battles are not over. If he loses, the man may go to prison. That is the thing that we're not talking about. Donald Trump hasn't even vocalized that much in his rallies and in his discussion. But if he loses today, he may spend the rest of his life in prison. That is not outside the realm of possibility. So, yeah, I've said a lot of doom and gloom here and talked about how things could get bad. Let me talk about what you need to do, all right? What you need to do starting today, once you get done casting your ballot and even beforehand, we got to fall back on church and family. I think one reason why the left riots is because they don't have families. For one, they kill their children. They don't even believe in marriage. Most liberals are born out of, having an ire towards their mom and dad. We have to love our families and we need to love our church, okay? I know for a lot of you who watch this show, you are homeless when it comes to a church. There's not a church by you that you can fellowship at, that you are left watching my stuff. By the way, let me do a quick ad for myself. This is that, session number 15 of the Last Days series. You can go to my YouTube page and you can watch that. We're only at 20 views. Come on now, people. 34 and 20, we got to do better than that. We've got to watch these shows. We got to watch these sermons, people. Make it so popular that everybody knows about the right dividing preacher boy, okay? So this is that, session number 15 of the Last Days series, hopefully getting people some good sound eschatology in their biblical understanding. But we got to rely on our families, okay? You've got to love your families. You got to find your church that you can be a part of if you can. And some of you are a part of our church basically remotely. You have been sources of encouragement. You've written letters. To the church. You watch our services online. And when we start live streaming, which I hope is very, very soon, you'll be able to participate in that way as well. And if we can get back to small units, right? Small churches, small families, it will give people something to fall back on. I understand the liberal tendency to want to riot and think that it's the end of the world because they don't have much else. Their community is non-existent. They are the child of the state. They were raised by the state, whether it's the public schools that indoctrinated them. Thankfully, Oklahoma has some good rural public schools that are still conservative in values overall. But they were raised by the state. They are probably employed by the state. They're indoctrinated by the state. Like, that's all they have. I mean, politics, the federal government is all they have. They don't have a church. They don't have a family. Their entire life revolves around this. You and I have something more, right? Because tomorrow is Wednesday night. I'm going to be doing a Bible study. Guess what? No matter what, whoever is the president, if we'll even know by tomorrow night, I'm not sure about that. Get it together, Arizona. Get it together, Nevada. We get Michigan, Pennsylvania, you silly gooses. Regardless of what happens tonight, we're going to meet for church on Wednesday night, and we're going to study the Bible, okay? And no matter what, we're going to stand for defending the faith, the family, and the fellowship. Our purpose will not change. Okay? Our purpose will not change. That is going to be our marching anthem no matter what. Because we always have to stand for defending the faith, the family, and the fellowship. Whether Trump's in the White House or Harris is in the White House or our local governance is conservative or progressive, we've always got a purpose to march for. And really, for so many secularists and leftists, their purpose is entirely tied up in political battles and political wins and conquest. It's a miserable place to be. I think it's truly a miserable place to be, and you hate that for them. All right. You know what? Hey, I don't know who this is. I just saw a comment, and anytime I see a new name, I have to stop. And I want to say hi to Keith Kuntz. I guess that's right. From North Carolina. You better vote, buddy. We need you to vote in North Carolina. That's going to matter. All right, so tell me, how'd you find us, Keith? What are you all about here? How did you come across us? That's great. I also see a couple other names, a name over here that I have no idea how to pronounce. I apologize, but you said Trump. So there we go. Yeah, we're Trump around here, 100%. Yeah, great to have you, Keith. Hopefully you can follow us some more. Glad to have you. All right. Let's do something fun. I'm about to go on a tangent and talk about David Platt for a little bit. I want to get a poll here, okay? I don't know if I can I do a poll? Yeah, let's start a poll. All right, I'm gonna post a poll right here, okay? All right, here's the poll, everybody. Do you want to do predictions for the presidential election? I am not necessarily wanting to because I feel like it's almost impossible, but I will honor what the crowd wants, okay? I will honor what the crowd wants. If you want to do predictions, we can do predictions, all right? But if you don't want to do predictions, we don't have to. So everybody needs to vote. We're going to do this thing, okay? We're going to go by what the people want. So Keith said you found me by scrolling through YouTube. Keith, I don't know what your background is, but we are primarily a ministry. I'm a pastor. We do Bible study. We do sermons. I'm out of Oklahoma. And I hope that you can maybe follow along. I don't know what your background is as far as matters of faith, theology, Bible studying and reading, but I hope that you can come along with us because I think we've got a lot of problems in evangelicalism and in Christianity. I think a lot of churches don't even teach the Bible. And when they do, a lot of times they insert their own bias and opinion, and we want to just teach the Word of God as it's written, what it says. We take it literally, we take it grammatically, contextually. I believe our gospel is salvation by grace through faith, not of works. And there are times in the Bible when we almost have some contradicting things. It says, over here, you've got to have works, but over here it says by faith alone. How do we make all that mesh together? And I think the answer is rightly dividing the word of truth. In 2 Timothy 2:15, Paul instructs us to do that. I think there are parts of the Bible that's written to Israel, and there's parts of the Bible that are for us. And so if we can understand that we don't need to mix Israel law work things with body of Christ grace things, then we'll be much better off. We stand for a conservative, traditional, family, biblical, virtuous, moral values around here. So, Keith, if you're a patriot and a Bible student, you belong here right now. I'm telling you that much, okay? There's my pitch to you. All right, so we're at 70% yes, okay? This is not a Baptist church. We don't have to get the 70% threshold. So if it's 51%, we'll do it, okay? So I'm gonna give y'all some time to work through that and decide for yourselves what you want to do. If you want to do predictions or not do predictions. And so I'm going to talk about David Platt. and then we'll get back to the predictions part, okay? All right, so David Platt. If you do not know David Platt, he was, in maybe some circles still is, but he's kind of getting out of favor. He was the darling of the Southern Baptist Convention. Back in 2012 to 2015, he was really the up-and-coming young pastor. I can't remember where he pastored first. Let me see. The first church that he pastored was Brook Hills in Alabama from 2006 to 2014. He was a young guy, and he went to, I think, the New Orleans Baptist Seminary, and he became the president of the IMB at a young age as well. David Platt is a Reformed theology guy, very big into Calvinism. Obviously, I'm repeating myself. And he really became popular for preaching a major focus on missions. Missions, foreign missions, church planting. He was really a poverty gospel guy, okay? So where you had the prosperity gospel preachers, healthy, wealthy, all that stuff, David Platt was saying, you have too much. Jesus said, forsake everything, follow me, give everything you have to missions, and just trust that God will provide. And it really struck a chord, I guess. So like a lot of bleeding heart young people, right? Caught on to it. Some of the older people thought, hey, this kid's the future. He's passionate and he's going to bring us back, because the Southern Baptist Convention has been on the decline for a long time. Okay, it's been going down in membership, going down in money and funds and all of that. And David Platt was supposed to save it. And when I was in college, in church collegiate ministries, David Platt was the celebrity, okay? We were given commentaries by him. The book Radical that he wrote sold a lot of copies. I was given several of those in college. The whole thing's about how you just need to love people, follow Jesus, don't worry about wealth, and just strive to preach the gospel, right? And that's what it's all about. Very much an emotional guy. When you watch him preach, he's very, it's a pleading sermon. We've got to be committed to the gospel. And church, we cannot be worried about worldly things and driving nice cars while we have people in poverty in other countries who do not know about Jesus. It's stuff like that. And we all really thought that he was going to be the face of the new Southern Baptist movement. He was going to reinvigorate evangelicalism and Christianity. But David Platt has had a fall. Now, it's not, as far as we know, anything of promiscuity and things like that. It's not that he's been in a scandal of those sorts. But he became the pastor of McLean Bible Church. McLean Bible Church, independent church, very big church, very well-known church in Virginia, right there by D.C., basically. You know how the geography works there. And he replaced Lon Solomon. And it's pretty much an evangelical church. They don't really hold to rightly dividing the word of truth or anything like that, but they're a more conservative church. David Platt, in 2019 and 2020, started emphasizing, in addition to his poverty gospel presentation, he started really emphasizing matters of race and essentially teaching critical race theory from the pulpit. And that poverty gospel also found itself trending more and more towards socialist type agenda, right? And open borders, immigration. It really much turned into a social justice type ministry that David Platt had. And people began to realize it, and they took issue with it, tried to speak out about it, were concerned about some of the people that David Platt was bringing on, because they were very social justice warrior. David Platt marched with BLM in 2020. And then they also realized that David Platt was merging McLean Bible Church with the Southern Baptist Convention, giving tons amount of money there, supposedly planning all these churches. And then also in the midst of all that, his ministry Radical was getting a lot of funds, and exactly how they were getting funds. Was it coming from McLean? They weren't quite sure. And then, to top it all off, David Platt persisted that they were not a part of McLean Bible Church. That McLean Bible Church was not a part of the SBC, and yet if you went to the SBC website, McLean Bible Church was listed as a Southern Baptist church. People that opposed found themselves being disassociated with the church. Their memberships revoked. They were being blocked from voting, and there were being special business meetings tied into worship to get elders elected and pushed across. And there were police that were there to keep people from speaking out and trying to get people to say, hold on, let's stop and wait a minute. This is not our order of church business. We're violating the Constitution. David Platt has essentially went from being the pinnacle of everything to what they wanted him to being the social justice warrior manipulator. I bring that up to say that he was the Reformation that people thought Christianity needed. Like he was going to encompass and embody it. The problem is David Platt is a social activist disguised as a Bible teacher. We in Christianity do not need social activists. We need a reformation, okay? And I know the word reformation, the Great Reformation or the Great Awakening, things like that. I don't say reformation in terms of Reformed theology. Okay, Reformed theology. I mean Reformation and going beyond Reformed theology, all right? We're highly Reformed. We're not Calvinists. We've left that behind us. We are rightly dividing the word of truth. Politics has had a reformation in recent years. I think conservatives, in some ways, yeah, they don't talk as much about a national abortion ban as much as I think we should. I mean, I think that abortion is a terrible moral evil, and I'm not much for federal bans on things, but I think abortion would be about the only one I would support. And you could still argue it needs to be sent back to the states. I get that as well. That's exactly what Trump did whenever the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. But politics has had a reformation, I think, for the better. We've gotten away from the milquetoast Mitt Romney of the world, and we've gotten a lot more bold about things. Christianity needs a reformation as well. I think the way the churches are trending now to where they're just weak-spined on biblical doctrine and they are not morally convicted and they're more trending towards liberal social justice than anything else, we've got to have a reformation. It's not going to be built on the back of David Platt, and it can't be built on the back of one single person. I think it needs to be built on the back of an image, a symbol. I'll remind you, okay, when Batman, right, Bruce Wayne was talking to Alfred and he said, I've got to be a symbol, something fundamental, something terrifying. You can kill a man, but you can't kill the symbol. When we think about American Christianity, it can't be a single man, David Platt, social justice warrior. The picture needs to be the small, local, doctrine Bible church, all right? The doctrinally, strong as goat's breath, we're not backing down 1 inch. If American Christianity can get away from these massive mega churches and these celebrity pastors, and when you think of American Christianity, you don't think of them, but you think of that local church in the community, that every time the doors are open, they are teaching, studying the Bible, and they are just full strong on the fundamental principles of the faith. That's a Christianity that can win, that's a Christianity that can persuade, and that's a Christianity that can stand. We don't need celebrity pretty boys up there. We don't need fancy t-shirts and mission statements, and we don't need big mega churches that have all the nice facilities. We need churches with Bibles and hymnals and pastors getting up there teaching from, I prefer the King James Bible because I think it's the most accurate, and congregations that are there for the sake of studying the Bible, not there to be entertained, to be a part of some big show. All right? So if we can reform politics, maybe we can reform churches as well. and we can do it and make them better and stronger than ever before. And I hope politics continues to reform and we get smaller and smaller in our governments. We get away from big, overreaching federal bureaucratic agencies that oppress the rights of the people, and we let each community govern themselves. All right, let's see here. What do we want to do on predictions? Okay, there's 71% yes. Now, if you're someone that voted no, here's the great thing that you can do. Let's say that you're watching the show right now, you can stop watching. So if you don't want to see predictions, then by all means. Now, here's what I want you to do. I'm the host, so I decide, okay? Our nation's not a dictatorialship, but this episode is. You give me your thoughts, all right, and then I'll give you mine. If you voted yes, feel free to comment, or no, you can comment as well if you'd like. It's up to you. Nobody's making you do this. But if you want to do predictions, you tell me right now, who do you think wins tonight's presidential election? All right? Who do you think wins? Do you think we're going to see the red MAGA hat walking into the White House? Or are we going to have some more years of the cackling Kamala Harris? You start giving me your predictions right now while I give you the time to do that. And we'll see what you have to say, okay? So I'm looking, waiting with bated breath. What's it gonna be? What do you think? What are your thoughts right now on Election Day 2024? Who is going to win this thing? All right? Does Trump have all the momentum, or has he maybe stepped on a few rakes here in the last few days to potentially cause him some trouble? I'm sorry, I had Daily Wire pulled up there and seeing if there was any updates from them as far as what's going on. So yeah, nothing major on the news. I was just checking while I'm waiting for your predictions to come in. But I think today's going to be a big turnout. I will say that. I would imagine that a lot of people are going to be tuning in or turning out at the polls, even though there was a lot of vote-ins. There will probably be more people vote this year than in 2020. Makes me nervous, but it very well could be. So I'm waiting to see what these predictions are. I'll be waiting for them to flow in. Somebody's got to be the first to say it. Kristen says, if it's fair, it'll be Trump. If it's fair. You know, that's an interesting argument that as long as it's fair, it's Trump. I think that a lot of people have that consensus that if the election is fair and we don't have shenanigans, Trump is going to win. I think that's what a lot of people are convinced of. Madeline, good morning from Ohio. Madeline, what are you doing in Ohio today? Am I confused? Did you move? I think you're the same Madeline that I know. Maybe I'm mistaking you for a different Madeline. But good morning, glad to have you. Alan in Portland, locking down, getting ready. Yeah, if Trump wins, Portland's going to become a war zone. Ken says, I think that the huge increase in turnout favors Trump. As amazing as it is, I think a big turnout does help Trump to a degree as well. What I'm curious is all the early Republican mail-in voting, or early voting anyways, is that cannibalizing today's? Are we going to have lower Republican turnout? Are we going to have lower Republican turnout today because so many voted earlier? I don't know. Okay, you live in Ohio, so Madeline, I might have been mistaken. I thought you were Wisconsin. I thought that you were Wisconsin, so silly me. It's going to be really interesting to see. So some early states to be looking at, I don't know. I'm curious to see what Iowa does. Just because, even though Iowa's consistently red, if Trump really does strong in Iowa, I think Trump's going to win Iowa. If Trump does strong in Iowa, I think that's a state that'll help show us that Trump really is doing well. If there's good, high Republican voter turnout, they should do well. Steven says, I was fifth in line at my polling station. My state, Kentucky, will absolutely be red. Yes, I wish I could be the same about the blue areas. Yeah. Well, my plan is if Trump loses, I'm going to say at least Oklahoma got it right, because I'm pretty confident Oklahoma's going to be red. That Oklahoma's been right for the past however many elections in a row. Too bad the other states can't get it together. Madeline says, I attend David Reed's church when I get the chance. I voted for Trump, praying he will go back to the White House. Yep, that's what we're hoping for. Kristen, you said that you think a lot of early voting is going to be first-time voters. That's entirely possible. That is entirely possible. So what I'm going to be doing tonight, I'll let you all know if I'm going to go live. I'll post something on Facebook, YouTube. But I'm going to be keeping track mostly with Daily Wire. I'm a subscriber, and one of these days, hopefully I'll get hired by them. But I'll be following them for the most part, as well as maybe keeping track, of a couple other news stations. I'll be watching X.com, because X is honestly some better source of news than just about anything else. You find a lot of junk on X, but also X is an open platform. So I'll be following them. I'll be following Daily Wire. And I'm really, really curious to see what the voter turnout is as far as today. Are the Republicans going to show out in big numbers? Because if the Republicans show up on Election Day like they normally do, you've got to be feeling good about this. You've got to be feeling good about it. If the Democrats have a major showing today, I'm not going to be feeling good, guys. I'll just be honest with you. If the Democrats turn out big today, especially in Pennsylvania, I will be quite nervous. Nancy, Mark, can I see your comments? I can see that one, Nancy. So let's see here. What all have you said, Nancy? Good morning, friends and family. Looking forward to a great video. Oh, okay. So that's Nancy's. That's Nancy's prediction. Okay, I see yours from the beginning, Nancy. I caught it. So Nancy's calling for a Trump win. Okay. So Nancy called it first, folks. If Trump wins tonight, we all got to give Nancy the credit, okay? All right, I see it now. Yeah, I see your comment. Let's see here. Let's look at a few other comments. We got Rick on today, Mary Terry from Mesquite, Texas. Nancy says, I've been binging on Trump rallies the past couple of weeks. Definitely a winner. Yeah, I mean, my head tells me Trump should win. I mean, the polls what are the polls? Those are not even, nobody knows. The polls are maybe entirely worthless. But, I mean, if we, it's, nothing's changed. It has been a gridlock, an absolute gridlock in the polls for weeks on end. So there's nothing at all. I mean, are the polls even worthwhile? Here's the thing. If they underestimate Trump again, I don't see how Trump can't win this thing, guys. I will say that. Okay. So let's see. Let's see this. All right, here we go. Let's do some fun, okay? Let's build a map together. All right? Let's build a map together. So here we go, 270 to win. And I'm going to have you help me build this thing, okay? Okay, here we go. All right, here I am on the 270 Win website, everybody. So let's reset this map here. Okay. Here we go, everyone. Let's start with Arizona. Okay, I do think Trump can win Arizona. All right, that's my thoughts. I think Trump can win Arizona. You know, I don't know, but what do we are we feeling like maybe Trump can pull off Nevada? What do we think? What do we think? Do we want to give Nevada? Alan's saying make Pennsylvania pink. Wow, Alan. Okay, all right. Are we going to go with Alan? Are we going to give Pennsylvania to Trump? We're going to make it pink, people? So, there we go. We've got Pennsylvania's pink right now. Anybody else? Do we have anybody disagreeing? Do we think that Pennsylvania is going to go the other way? We'll leave it there for now, okay? So I think that we can swing Nevada, Arizona. Alan's calling Pennsylvania. You know, I think Trump gets Georgia too. If he does that, there's 271 people. He doesn't even need North Carolina. Okay? If Trump can pull off Nevada, Arizona, he could even lose North Carolina. That's an amazing thing. There are more paths for Trump than there is for Harris. What do we think about that? Or are we thinking that maybe Nevada needs to go blue? If so, that gets him at 265. Sorry for all these ads. They got to make money somehow, I suppose. Let's see. All right, Steven's saying Nevada pink and North Carolina pink. Okay. Your wish is my command. All right, so we're at 287. Okay, if this happens, we're already partying. Okay, now is he going to add insult to injury? Are we going to get maybe a Wisconsin and a Michigan? What do we think, people? We chewing on this? Give Michigan to blue. Think Michigan's going to go blue this time around? Probably. So there's Michigan blue. And then Wisconsin. Nancy? Or, sorry, Myra. Do we have Myra on with us today? If Myra's here, Myra should be... Yeah, Myra's here. Myra, tell us, what are you feeling? What's your thoughts on Wisconsin? Of course, Rick adds he's doubtful of an election with no shenanigans that will contribute to a Trump loss. Oh, so you're doubtful of an election with no shenanigans that will contribute to it. So you think as long as there are no shenanigans, Trump really shouldn't lose. All right, we've got to decide what we're going to do with Wisconsin, folks. Ken saying Michigan pink. Man, so Ken, you're feeling like Michigan can pull this out, even with Michigan, huh? That would be hilarious. Let's just look at it for a second. 302. If Trump breaks 300 electoral votes, that would be hilarious. That'd be hilarious. So, let's see. Let's go ahead and go back to Michigan light blue. Myra, are you with us? What do you think? Is Wisconsin going to go red? Myra's not quite willing to call it. She says, you hope so, but there are lots of crazies here. New York pinkish? Oh, that would be hilarious. Could you imagine? Imagine if we got this. Let's just have some fun with it real quick. Oh my goodness, that would just be. I'm telling you this: if he wins New York, he'll get Virginia too. Like I think that he would get Virginia as well, maybe even New Hampshire. Wouldn't that just make you laugh? And then poor Dr. White over here in Taos, New Mexico, letting those couple liberal cities call all the shots. Okay, let me give you mine. Now, you asked for predictions here, people, okay? I'm going to give them to you. I'm keeping you all waiting for suspense. Oh, this is tough. This is tough because the problem with doing predictions is you don't want to be wrong. I should have never gave you all the option. I tell you what. Okay. I'm going to go with my gut, okay? My head says something different, all right, people? My head says that I think Trump can do this thing. My gut, my pain in my stomach is telling me otherwise, okay? And I hope that I'm wrong, and my opinion is as good as nothing, okay? It's as good as nothing, so just keep that in mind. I'm nervous, okay? My confidence in the blue wall is not very high, okay? It's just not very high. I'm afraid we're going to have something like this. Just so close. So incredibly close. That's the pain in my gut, okay? That I'm worried about. Now, with that being said, while that is what my gut is telling me, if we roll into what y'all said, if we find that it's like this, yeah, let's leave it like that. I'm not going to be shocked, okay? I won't be shocked. I'm just telling you the pain in my gut, okay? I know, boo, Alan, I know. Hey, here's the thing. I'm not here just to please you, okay? I'm not here just to please you. I'm just telling you what my gut's saying, and my gut could be completely wrong, all right? My gut said Trump wasn't winning in 2016 either. My gut in 2020 had no clue. Mark, you're young, she says. So, hey, I am more than happy to be wrong, okay? I am more than happy. Some of you that are up by the blue wall state, or, the blue wall states, you have a better finger on the pulse of the matter, okay? You have a better idea of what's going on than I do. I'm just in Oklahoma, and in Oklahoma, we just don't know if, you northerners, all right, how y'all are going to do. I know y'all are going to do great. I just don't know about your neighbors. But we'll see, okay? That's all I'm saying. But I followed what you wanted, okay? I said, do you want to do predictions? And the people voted yes, okay? And I tried to give the people what you want, all right? But hey, here's the thing. I've been optimistic. Even if my gut's telling me be nervous, my optimism is that, you know what? As Madeline says, trust God, whatever the outcome. Trust God, whatever the outcome. Hey, Stephen, thanks for joining us. Great to have you. And so, you know what? No matter what happens tonight, tomorrow, either one of us is going to get to say I was right, and the other one's going to say I was wrong. And I hope by the time it's all said and done, I can point to Stephen, and I can point to Ken and Alan. I can point to all of y'all, and I can say, man, y'all were so right. And Nancy, you called it from the very start. You get all the bragging rights, okay? And if y'all do that, okay, I will be more than happy to eat a big pile of crow, okay? A big pile of crow. Madeline, that's right. I had Madison on my mind. Madison is in Wisconsin. Madeline is in Ohio. Okay, sorry, Madeline, that's why I was confused. All right, guys, I'm 6 minutes past the hour. I'm about to go vote. And so with that, thank you all for joining us today. I appreciate it. We'll be here, okay? I'm not going anywhere. And all of you patriots, thank you for standing with me all this time to defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. We're going to continue to do this no matter what, okay? We're not going to go anywhere. We are going to stand together. So, if you haven't voted yet, go vote, and then don't worry about it, all right? Let's just enjoy the day. No matter what happens, we know who's our Lord and Savior. We know that we have an amazing gospel. I cannot thank you enough, all right? We'll be back tomorrow, no matter what, unless the Lord returns. I will be back tomorrow broadcasting, and we are going to be just as determined as ever, no matter the outcome. Thank you all so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Take care.